Thanks for joining us on BloombergQuint on Q2 with BQ. Joining me with R.C. Bhargava, he's the chairman of Maruti Suzuki Limited, to talk about the quarter gone by. Sir, it's a pleasure to have you with us today.
Nice to be here.
So net profits are down by about close to 39.3%, that lowest in decline in the last 4 years. How do you assess the performance of the quarter gone by, and how are the demands looking up?
The quarterly fall in profits is a consequence of the fall in sales and the fact that to promote sales, we've had to give big discounts. So that's a consequence of what's happened. It's not a surprise. The reason for giving discounts was that the prices of cars had gone up so much because of various regulatory changes, taxes by the state, the system by which what is normally charged abroad on a yearly basis is here required to be paid at the time of buying a car.
Right.
So we have done many things to make the customer pay a much larger amount when he buys a car compared to what happens elsewhere. With that, we have a situation where finance got limited. The initial payment, down payment, which the customer has to make to get a loan, that doubled. So all of that put together had made the customer's ability to buy a car was adversely impacted. And to partly make up for that, we had to give bigger discounts. Otherwise, even this level of sale would not happen.
And we're in the middle of the festive season now. How are the demands coming up? Are the sales happening? Where are we at?
Festival season this year, thanks to the discount structure which is in place today, is likely to be somewhere close to what it was last year. It's not that it's gone way beyond it or there's got dropped substantially again. I think it's about the same level.
Are customers coming to the showroom to buy vehicles? Is that the sentiment improving? That's a bigger question, the sentiment
Well,
improving.
they're buying vehicles, whether it's sentiment improvement or because they're looking at the big discounts.
Right.
It's very hard to say.
Right.
But yes, they're buying vehicles better than what they were doing earlier.
And going forward, do you expect to maintain the margins as well? You have beaten street expectation this time around.
Very difficult to say because you don't know what sales will be next month. So let's see what happens in November and what happens in December and what happens in January. I think by that time we'll get to know what change, if any, is happening in the sentiment and buying intentions of the customers.
Right. So can we see discounting continuing for the ongoing months as well?
Discounting will continue, but how much will the discount be is determined by our marketing people from time to time. There's no certainty that the same level of discount will continue. In fact, the discount will, I think, not go up. They may come down. But how much and when and what, the marketing people will decide.
And in terms of, how is the demand shaping up in the rural market? That has also been a big pain point as well, versus urban, and both actually. Are demands coming in the rural market and the urban market?
We are waiting now for the rural market to get impacted by the good monsoons. Normally, rural market sales growth used to be faster than the urban markets. This year, in fact, the last 12, 18 months, there's been not much difference between what happened in the urban and the rural markets. But my personal expectation is that with this good monsoon, rural sales will improve.
Perhaps second half of the year looks promising, better than the first half of the year?
For the rural market, I think it should look more promising. I'm not quite sure of the urban market. As I said, we have to wait till January to get an assessment of the full situation.
And the Uber chief was in town in Delhi, and he mentioned a point that the millennials, the younger generation, newer generations aren't looking to own vehicles. The ownership, they're looking into more sharing model. Is that one of the factors that is also playing out and will play going ahead as well?
Yes, I think that's very much a factor which has to be kept in mind. So far, the penetration of Uber and Ola in India is limited to a few places. But as it expands over the years, and I think the intention is very much to expand, it will become more and more of a factor which one should take into account when estimating the sale of cars, numbers, as well as the models and all. It has to be realized what implication this will have.
So are you back to the drawing board to understand the customer better?
It's not back to the drawing board, it's because we understand the customer. But today's customer, we understand, has many alternative places where he can spend his money. And the young guy today who gets his first job or is just starting out in a small business, he doesn't have that much of surplus that he can spend money in all these alternatives. So he has to choose. If he chooses a car, he probably can't spend money on others for the next 2-3 years. If he doesn't choose a car and chooses to use Uber and Ola, then he can buy a lot of other things, other alternative places where he can invest and buy things. So he has to make a choice.
But that puts you the biggest tightest spot because you cater to the market, largest is the smaller vehicle market, right? So how do you aim to...
That's the startup customer. The other customers are a different lot. I'm talking of the guy who's starting out to buy his first car after his first job kind of customer.
Any expectation from the government this time around, further in terms of incentives, initiatives, so that momentum can be brought
I
back?
don't think anything more can come from government, no.
And production cuts, are more production cuts expected going ahead, especially after the festives?
Not if the market doesn't fall further.
I want to understand, are you seeing any signs of revival, at least any hope of seeing a turnaround inside in terms of mindset, sales happening?
As I said, festival season has been okay, but that's whether it's because of festival, whether it's for discounts or whatever. Whether this translates into a turnaround or not, we have to wait to see in the next 2-3 months.
Right, and last question, sir, what are your plans for the EV vehicles? You said you will be bringing the Wagon-R electric, but that's not going to be for the commercial, that's only for the commercial market.
Priority today is electrification of two-wheelers and three-wheelers. Cars come later. And we'll use this time to bring in cars using alternative fuels, alternative technologies. At the same time, keep working hard at developing more economical EVs so that when the appropriate time comes, we can launch them commercially and they'll be such as customers can buy.
Right, sir. I know it's indeed always a pleasure speaking with you, sir. Thank you so much for your time and speaking to BloombergQuint.